pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Looks like all members of the committee are here. Ryan Conrad, Margaret Joyce, and Mr. Joyce.
Public Safety Committee meeting. I'm going to turn it over to Margaret Joyce.
Thank you, Mayor. We met in our regular council meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the Lake County Sheriff had addressed Lake County Commissioners on some issues of public safety, which then resulted in kind of a far-ranging discussion about topics that we felt as council members we ought to make sure that we are meeting current standards and ensuring that we're using best practices. So as a follow-up to that meeting, we sent a memorandum to our police chief, Susan Schofield, and asked her to give us her responses to a number of these areas. And she requested that we have a committee meeting so that she could address these herself. So that's why we're meeting today. And we have a number of items on the agenda. There are like 9 of them. So it's quite possible we won't be able to reach all of them today, given there are, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday. But we're going to do what we can to work through these. And so that the first agenda item was protective body armor. We wanted to confirm the current status of body armor for all of our Timberlake officers, make sure that we understood what the standards are and what we need to do if we are not meeting those standards. So, Chief, if you would be willing to respond to that, please. I've prepared my memorandum in accordance with the way questions were brought to me. It was confirmed the current status of body armor for Timberlake officers. All members of Timberlake Police Department do have body armor at their own expense, with the exception of me. I do not have mine on. Mine has gone back to the vendor, and from there has gone back to the manufacturer for alterations. But yes, we all do have body armor, and we all will.
Can you define what that means? What it actually entails?
It's a front panel. Mine has sides. Some of the guys have, most of the time they're custom made. I don't know that you can buy it off the rack. But it's a panel. You can either wear it underneath your uniform shirt or an outside carrier, which it has attachments, and you can attach things like your radio and a taser or flashlight or whatever you choose to put on the front of your vest. But it covers your back, it covers your front. The main purpose of wearing it is bulletproof. There's 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. It depends on what level you have as to whether it will stop another blade, and what level you have. Level 3 is the most protected. It also weighs the most. Some of the vests have shock plates in the front that will withstand even more firepower. Some of the guys have shock plates in the back. Mine does not. I just have a panel in the front. Cost is really high, but it depends on what level that you have for your body armor. And again, it's all, I used to wear mine under my uniform shirt, but the guys convinced me that it's much more comfortable to wear it on the outside carrier, because you can take it off when you're in the office. And that's why mine went back. My carrier had to be remade. They are supposed to, whatever level you're wearing, at whatever department you work at, what you carry in your duty weapon, your body armor should protect you should you lose your own weapon. I don't know that that's
in writing at every police department, but that's what we strive for, that you have, the guys all here all have level 3 body armor. And that's the highest level you can have.
Just out of curiosity, how much do those run typically?
Mine was custom made and mine was done, if you can,
It was about a little over $1,200.
And they're only good for, you know, wear it every day, maximum 5 years, maybe. A couple of my guys actually bought them used off of eBay with a certificate showing how much wear was left on them. So one of my guys got his for $100 because of mark.
Do they get recertified? Is there like a maintenance schedule, anything of that sort, or is it just 5-year off the shelf lifetime?
It depends on how many, 5 years, but if you're only wearing it 2 days a month, then.
So it's a use, like 10,000 hours or something like that.
And if you wear it under your uniform shirt, which most people don't nowadays, but if it's worn under the shirt, it's actually considered an undergarment, and you're supposed to pitch it at 5.
Thank you.
And that 5-year time frame is, it has nothing to do with whether or not it has protected the officer in some sort of occasion. Whether it's fired upon or not, it doesn't matter. 5 years is 5 years.
But it depends on how much you wear it in that 5 years.
Okay.
My first vest that was made for me in '93 was a second chance brand. There's different brands, but they all strive for the same level. Mine was a level 3, and and mine was old. I mean, but I didn't wear it every day, so I continued to wear it like 10 and 11 years, and it was around 10 years that it did withstand a sharp knife. So, but again, I didn't wear it every day for 5 years.
Yeah, and that's probably based on the material that's used for the protective, yeah. Has a certain lifespan.
So are there, I guess the question is, if everyone has theirs, do we know that all of theirs are, how do we know if their affirmation, or do we keep track of it?
I don't look at the labels inside the car.
Okay. Is that something we should collect and keep in their file to know that this, you know, I think the members of the committee and council would, you know, agree that Sheriff Liam Bruno and his video about the concerns about terrorist attack, it really kind of scared everybody. It's, you know, we think we're a little Timberlake, just like we think we're a little North Perry and Perry. But he made it very clear that we're all susceptible. So part of the impetus for this whole discussion was we want to protect our officers.
Mhm.
So how do we make sure we do that? And so part of that is the documentation to make sure that everything is up to date. Do you recommend that we somehow get those dates of when they received those?
Not at all.
And somehow put them in there, or we just take their word for it?
Again, it depends on how often they wear it. I mean, if they wear it at, say, their full-time job, and they're in the office a lot, and you take it off, and it's an outside carrier, how, if this individual has a label that says hers was made in March of 23, but she doesn't wear it that much, and so March of 28, are we gonna say this person has to replace their vest?
So I don't disagree with your statement. I guess my question is, you mentioned that you have one that you had for 10 to 12 years.
I still have it in the drawer.
And, you know, if an officer decided that they didn't want to spend the money and their department wasn't providing it, and they have one that was 10 to 12 years, and they worked full time, and then they were here working in Timberlake at a wedding and somebody stabbed them, and the vest didn't protect them, shouldn't we know if that vest is? will
But
protect
that
the-
brings the village back to, if you want absolute affirmation, then issue the vest. And
Well,
there
that's
still
part of
is, the state program that is 25% out of pocket. The village would have to pay for them and then get reimbursed from the state of Ohio under the CEGIS program. But the fine print of that program says for those departments that are eligible. And I'm caught between a rock and a hard place because I'm still pursuing Ohio Collaborative. We're only certified through Group 1, but I'm told by the chiefs that are getting me through the collaborative that me as a police chief, I'm not eligible to fill this paperwork out for a grant for Timberlake Police Department. However, council can fill out the grant with the mayor in conjunction with council and pursue that grant.
Yeah, with your input and your help for, the technical details. It's something
Right.
we could definitely do and should look into. if
Well,
there's
and
gaps.
further in this memo, it says. Well, that's not yeah, I mean, I gladly, but it would take at least a year. If we applied now, we're gonna look at spring next.
Yeah, I think what gives us some comfortability is they all have vests now from either their own purchase or in your case through the village. And they should all be in good standing. I guess it would be maybe our request to ensure and remind them of their lifetime so that they could check them. And then when the time comes, if they need it, then maybe we offer, one every 5 years or whatever.
I think you've got that year wait. with the
Right.
grant.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we document as best we can each of the officers and what they have?
Now and then we have a ball.
And then put in for the grant now.
Yeah.
With the idea that when it comes available, whether it's next spring, that we'd be in a position to potentially issue new vests for.
The oldest one.
When
Yeah.
I would think that the officers have vested interest in
part of the fund.
having an up-to-date and standard.
They will
Yes.
not turn down and do that.
They
Right.
would not turn down a new vest. Well, on top of that, it's their own personal safety on the line. And so if the grant was available and they felt like their vest was getting old, getting to the end of its useful life, then why not take advantage?
My only concern is brain, which I haven't looked into, is what level of body armor do they provide? I mean, if it's level 1
Then
and my guys are wearing 3s.
Yeah.
It's no,
you see
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah, it's less safe.
Is that something that you can?
Forward to
I-
us.
I sent an email. I went on that, as soon as I got this memo from you. I went on that and there's not a phone number where you can pick up and call anybody.
No, it never is
But I
for
did make
grants.
you Fill out the form and ask questions in, the paragraph they allowed, and that was at least 2 weeks ago, and I have not received a response.
And where's that going to?
It actually goes to the Ohio Attorney General.
There's actually 2 levels. There's one through the Bureau of Workmen's
it.
Compensation, and then there's one through the Attorney General as well. So it looks like there's.
But the email form that you
The
fill out
Attorney General.
goes to the Attorney General.
one other question, Chief, do you have any idea when they're gonna have your vest back?
I hope by next week.
Okay.
I was rather I wore the underneath period when I first got it. And, because of the guys were all like, really gotta try the outside period, you'll be a lot more comfortable. And I put it on and I wore it for like 3 days and I kept thinking, something's wrong. And the panels, mine is made where the front goes around to the side
Okay.
instead of the back coming around this way like the guys do. And I realized I gotta put it over my head and I gotta zip the front, I gotta attach this, and when I sit down, if I wanna open it a little more,
You're got a
it
problem.
was all elastic.
Yeah.
There was no way to open the sides.
Yeah.
And I said.
Yeah.
So like I said, it went back to the vendor that I bought it from, and mine is point blank, the brand is point blank, and it went to them to be redone.
Any other questions on that?
Just a point of references. It's open till June 30th. So if you'd ask officers what their status is, and then we can look into it in the
Which
interim.
grants that?
The Ohio Law Enforcement Bulletproof Vest
You have to
Program.
say how many vests you're looking for.
It does ask how many, what are the officers? It's a form, more like a questionnaire with a few key points. What the unit cost will be. So you kind of do the shopping ahead of time. And then it's a 25% local match. The grant's eligible up to $40,000 per municipality.
Okay.
Uh,
Would you-
Yeah, so just to make sure we know where we're going from here, okay? Is that, can you check with your guys at least and find out in order of priority, who's really coming up on an aging vest so that we can fill out that grant application by June 30th?
My concern is,
Everybody will
3.
sign up. Okay,
It doesn't state level, it's just a price.
I
So
know,
it doesn't, I don't think if you have to get level 3, because they have level 3, I don't think the Attorney General will tell you no on that. It doesn't look like there's a price cap per vest. The price cap is the total order. So you get 4 vests at $5,000, it's 20, or you get 2 at 10. it's
my
the same.
question is, who do they order from?
I think you just
Does
put
it
it,
give you
it
the
would be,
details?
you're putting the money out and they would reimburse you. So it's your preferred vendor, I would say. There's probably more details that we can look into and then,
Okay,
revisit.
okay.
Cause
But
it's
I
hard
need,
to
I
read
need
it on
to
the
know the
fly.
age of the vest that every
Right.
one of my guys is wearing.
Yeah, that's step 1. And then we'll look into the
Okay,
logistics and
And
the
some of them
fine
may
print on
be
the grants.
Getting issued new ones before they work.
this
Correct.
is true.
So
Yeah. So if there's any that,
any of that I think ideally, we just want to make sure that anybody that is in an expired vest.
Yeah.
That we take that into account when we, take care of the grant.
yeah, and get
'Cause I don't
those.
think we really want to buy brand new ones for everybody.
No,
If
just
they
those
are
that are in
issuing
need.
new ones through their department.
Right. Just those that are in need and don't have another source, they would be paying out of pocket for it.
So I don't know how you prioritize those, but when you get your information from the guys, maybe we can rank them and figure out which one, like these 3 will get them and that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
There's only 8 of them.
I get that,
Nine counting me and I have mine.
right?
And most work other places that they have access to them, right?
And most of them wear, in all the off-duty jobs or other police jobs, they wear that same vest.
Okay.
okay. The second item is body cameras, dash cameras. Oh, sorry. Yep. Mhm.
I want to address, since I had a 3-page memorandum and I was asked the question, I just want to make sure.
Great, that, I was gonna read the first question.
Okay, but it's still under protected body armor.
Oh, which one?
What is the OPATA standard for
Mhm.
body armor?
Okay,
I'm gonna have to explain what OPATA is. OPATA stands for Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. OPATA and OPOTC is the mission. They create the standards and the educational level for what we have to go through in basic training and our yearly training and firearms training. So they're not like a police department where they say OPATA standard is ABC. OPATA doesn't have such standards for body armor. Just so we know that. In the back of all the stuff I printed out, there is something in here that gives you an explanation of what OPATA does, what they are and what standards they set for training.
So who sets the standards for body armor? Would that be the manufacturer and,
Each
ISO, ASTM
department.
testing?
Each department, if they're willing to let everybody wear a level 1. A lot of the standards are based on if they issue it. I mean, mine that I talked about that was made for me in 1993, it was issued to me by a police department. So whatever my department said, this
That
is
was
what
the
you
standard,
wear,
yeah.
this is what we wear. Just so everybody knows, OPATA does not set a standard for body armor.
What would you say is the best practice then for Lake County villages and cities? In terms of wearing body armor
I would think it would be mandatory
at level 3?
at level 3, yes, but then that also comes back on small departments like us, and can they afford to buy it? I mean, ideally, the standard is you issue it and we'll wear it. That's the ideal standard, and beyond that, level 3.
But $1,200 is a reasonable price to.
I have no idea what men's vest cost.
Okay.
I have not looked it up.
Okay.
I'm clueless. All I know is mine was $1,293 because mine was custom made.
Okay.
But I could check into, you know, and there's, it used to be Second Chance, but they're now owned by Safari. There's Point Blank, and there's like several other paramilitary brands out there. I have not checked any prices.
You see that 1293 was how many years ago?
That's mine.
That,
We
for
just
right
made
now,
ours
right now,
A year.
a year ago.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, and that was custom. Okay.
Okay, but if we can get with a 25% match and then paying 75% cost, then $1,200 doesn't seem so bad. If that's the total.
No, it
cost.
doesn't. Especially if they're gonna go, you know, level 3
Yeah.
and put it in exterior carry.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'll apply, I think, and then we'll talk about it at our next council meeting once we get the information back from you of what the status and age and quantity potential we'd submit for.
Well, guys, I doubt that any of them will come down.
Well, you don't pose it to them, do you need a free vest? You ask, can you give me your age so we can
I
make the
just
decision
know-
of where they're at?
And I hate to be picky.
Or
but I'd
name
like to
brand,
ask
we could
you-
look up,
Sure.
because then we
Okay,
can look
that's
up the manufactured required lifetime and et cetera.
And it also might be interesting to find out if they were issued that at their other full-time job. You know, because as you
I've
pointed
only
out,
got one that's got a full-time. Everybody else has other jobs,
okay,
but not to where. they're
Policing.
issued anything.
oh, all right, okay,
See what I'm saying?
okay.
Anything else on body armor?
That's it.
All right, the second item was body cameras and the dash camera. We were under the impression that the village owned body cameras, but they were taken out of service at some point. Is that,
Our, unbeknownst to me, I got a 30-day in advance email from Axon saying our contract ran out December 31st.
Okay.
And that was a 5-year contract signed by previous chief and previous mayor. I was also informed that the actual body cameras we were wearing were 2 years out of date warranty wise. There was no longer parts for them. And even if we wanted to buy future warranty, they were so old we could not. They're in a box in the attic, but as far as when that was a 5-year contract with Axon. When I started checking into it in early January 2022, and I think we even discussed it at council meetings the first couple of months of 2022, about either extending our renewing the contract with Axon, which I believe our contract that was expiring was like $5,600. But to renew it for another 5 years, it was like $12,800. And the huge cost of it, besides the 5-year contract, was the data storage. And it came down to about $2,000 a year, what it costs now, depending on who we went with for data storage. My concern is, why do we want them? When we agreed to let it contract, you know, it was a no-brainer to let that contract expire, especially when we had some old cameras anyway. We discussed it at council meetings. Cost was prohibitive. The data storage was ongoing. and would be around between $1,500 and $2,000 a year. And it was only for X amount of years. And I came back to, are we Cleveland? Are we Bracknell? What do we do all day? What do we have downloaded on a body camera that we're gonna need in a court of law for a case? Very, very little. There are big departments around here, that I did pick up the phone after you discussed all this. I know Willoughby doesn't use body cameras. Eastlake does not have body cameras. Kirkland Hills does not have body cameras because they chose to go with dash cam. And dash cam is automatic. And again, when we respond, are we really pulling in? Very rare do we pull in someone's driveway right up to their house and put the overhead lights on, which activate dash. My question is, why do we need them? We chose to go away from them when the contract ran out. A lot of it had to do with money. A good bit of it had to do with the data storage, and we're Timberlake. I mean, this isn't Bracknell, this isn't East Cleveland, this isn't Cleveland.
No, but just last week, there was a gun pulled at the Vine Street Burger King, which is, okay, it's not Timberlake,
I got that.
but it's darn close.
Most businesses, especially all along Vine Street, have cameras. I have that video. I mean, we get that in a, it's called Crime Stoppers, but I get it from Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, who sends it out to all of them. Yes, there's, I mean,
Yeah, I saw the video too. It's one time that you wish that the front license plates were still on the cars.
I agree. I agree. But I
I don't understand why they did that in the first place, but that's.
I think it's just a money saving thing, but that's not for topic today.
Well, I can think of a couple of circumstances last year that would have been helpful to have the body cameras, but one of the issues, one of the opportunities is through the Ohio Attorney General is to get brand new body cams, and grant that's available for that. We just, the village received a grant for like 36,000. We're in the process of
4 body
getting
cameras.
4 body cameras, all the software and all that. It's all part of the grant. And, there are a few departments that still don't want them. But by and large, even the ones that don't have them, the larger departments wish they did. Because of the fact that it takes all doubt out of what transpired, whether the officer acted rightly,
Mhm.
because many times it's, I get this in my Kirkland Hills cases, the community that is, there are people who will scream racism. I had a case just a month ago where the person said that they were being chased through Kirkland Hills, and that's why they were speeding, by somebody that was using the N-word and this, that, and the other. Well, I got the dash cam.
Right.
And the dash cam, she never brought it up. So the dash cam was very helpful in that circumstance because it was able to squelch a circumstance where somebody alleged something that never happened. In the absence of the dash cam, in the absence of body cam, then it's a he said, she said. In this society, I don't know if I want to go to court on what she said, she said. That's just my.
I would like to know dash cam cost. I mean, I know one of our police cars is 10 years old, and I would not think of retrofitting that car with a dash cam video. But if we were gonna buy a new police vehicle in the next year or two, I'd like to check into dash cam video to see the cost of that and the data that's stored, because the chiefs that I've talked to in the last month, couple weeks from this memorandum about body cameras, the whole issue with them was, I don't care what kind of grant you get, the grant does not cover data storage. And data storage is expensive. And the problem with data storage is, what are we gonna have on it here in Timberlake that we need to store, other than maybe we've had some bizarre things that we've dealt with.
But you can
But-
pick and choose them based upon the policy that you put in place, what gets stored, right? So if it keeps everything for 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, do we go back and look at the 3 months prior to that? And
And-
only keep those cases that are still pending in
Yeah.
court?
It's an on-off
Actually-
button. It's not continuously running.
Actually, under Ohio Public Records law, and I don't know, I know it's in there as to how long we have to retain it. But I don't know what the time period is, because at the time I reviewed it, it didn't apply to us, whether it's dash cam or body cam or whatever.
So who's the,
And when it's set up, it has to be set up for when an officer puts it on and you roll that on a computer screen to watch it, it has to designate who that officer is, not by, oh, I hear the voice and that's so-and-so. It has to specify in the event it has to be used in court.
sure. There's
So
probably
that-
procedures and protocols of how to
Right.
use them in service, but who is the supplier of the original ones that we have?
Axon.
Axon, and you spoke to them? Or
Three years ago. I spoke to them when they sent me an
They're
email
10 years,
saying,
10 years old. They were bought in 2014.
this was the end of 21 and it was a 5-year contract, so they were bought in 2018, maybe.
I think they were purchased
20
earlier.
2014.
I mean, I even
yeah.
had to
We bought
ask-
2 in 2014 from Taser and their Axon.
That was the first cameras we had.
We had second one.
And the second ones are the ones that expired when I took over. There were 3 of them. And
Okay,
they're
so-
not
It was around 15 and 16.
functioning.
So these are the first 2, and then there should be 3 more.
Now, I have been
5.
told that you can actually buy a body camera for $295. But how good is it?
Because it might be worth revisiting. I mean, I don't know the lifetime or the manufacturer requirements, but if we can get the serial numbers or some data off of the 5, then that we should have.
I know we have 3. I
Okay.
don't know what happened to the first set we had, which was 2.
Okay,
But I do know that they're
But-
not, how do I say it? Usable again.
are we certain of that?
Yes, I made certain of that when as a matter of fact, in nowhere in my file did I have a copy of the contract. I had to ask Axon for a copy of the contract. And then when I said, okay, so can we, yours are, they're 2 years out of warranty. I said, okay, out of warranty is one thing. What about usage? And they're discontinued. There's no parts for them, which I understand. Anything electronic is,
throwaway, yeah.
I get it.
Brakes, it's gone.
Okay, I get it. But I do know 3 years ago when that contract expired, I reached out to departments to say, hey, what, you guys wear body cameras? And if so, what brand? And at that time, the sheriff's department was going through a training program to see if they wanted it, and they were doing it with Panasonic. I don't know who the top camera is now. I know when we had Axon was the best and most expensive, but I don't know who there is because I haven't done any research on it at all.
It's usually what you see on live PD, right? It says little Axon on the top
Oh,
of the news videos you see, so
don't-
they're primarily Axon.
I'm sorry,
You live live
I don't
PD.
watch live PD.
Okay, well, I think it's worth, and if this is okay, like, let's get them down, let's dust them off and try and call and confirm what it would take if we wanted this similar model, this similar
Hold
setup.
up, but that's if we want to deal with Axon. And Axon is the Cadillac of body.
Well, we start there, because that's what we
And
have.
I would rather take the time to, like I did 3 years ago, ask the sheriff's department, find out who is wearing body cameras.
What are they like?
What brand are they? When did you get them? What does it cost? What is your contract? And what do you pay for data storage? That's my concern. I don't care what brand they are, if they're good. We don't need the Cadillac.
But if we have some that might be able to be used. it'd
That-
just be out
that-
of warranty and, or if there's a similar model, because we've already used those in the past, so some of. You'd be familiar, you were here, right? And some of the other officers might already be familiar with those, and that might make it easier to implement. Instead of writing a whole new protocol and procedure around them.
All I know is what we have in the attic are garbage, and the only reason they're up there is because we can't throw them out.
Okay.
So it. No, we made sure that that was all transferred. But that's,
If they're
in
garbage. then we should
transferring the data,
Get rid of them, no? Or look into
Well,
them and then get rid of them.
we have to go through the whole. If we go with Axon,
Some more information to be found out from other local communities.
correct,
and-
because everybody that I picked up the phone and made contact with 3 years ago said, stay away from Axon.
Okay.
So I would like to check what are options.
No, I think that's a smart plan. Do all the
All
research.
I can tell you is somewhere in this memo, it's telling me to implement body cameras by June 30th, and that's not possible.
Okay, so then what is possible is you can do the research and give us a recommendation on what's the best available.
I can look
Okay.
into what's the best available, look into the pricing, but what I would also like to look into is if CJIS has any grant opportunities on this.
Yeah.
And I come back to the same thing that I'm stuck with again. Police department is not collaborative certified, so a grant would have to be written by council and the
And you know
mayor.
what?
Okay,
This
is the
just a
guy
grant, right? So we're
He
gonna
does the
have you and
grants.
Ryan go
Sit
through
down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got
He
one
can-
better. The man I just hired in January, that's the chief of Spencer.
Okay,
He's taken all of the classes. He said, when I told him about this and body, he said, do you know how to write a grant? I said, I haven't had the grant training from Okata since 2010. He said, that's my specialty.
let's go.
Well, perfect.
Unleash them. I give you.
He's the one that told me that we can buy cameras
Yeah.
for $295 a piece. He said, whatever you got in the attic, throw in the trash. If it's more than 2 years old, throw it in the trash. And I said, okay. And he said, he said the major problem is data storage.
Which is every camera's problem, right? When you even buy a home Ring camera, you have to pay extra for the data cloud storage. That's just how this works. But I think it's a valuable tool for our officers and safety of our officers and the village. So we want to look into it, cost it out, and maybe, what's the officer's name? The
Right.
chief,
Michael Wright,
maybe Officer
Chief.
Wright, but
And
Chief
he
Wright
says it
can come
takes a-
talk to us about it. if
he says it
knows.
takes a good year to write a good grant.
Sure, we've had to write them quicker than that, so, it's such a smart window, but it'd be nice to have him come and maybe tell us his experience with body cams, because it sounds like he has some
If
experience
I
as
could
well.
get him here on a day of a council meeting. But he's another guy that works 3 jobs.
We can make a special meeting.
I,
So-
I,
Committee.
I
We
will.
can find a time.
Did
Absolutely.
we look at one time the grants for that? Because
The cycle had just ended and it was listed to the fiscal year 24, so I don't know if they're just waiting for another call for proposals or request for RFPs.
Yeah, I haven't seen
It
that.
hasn't
open
come out yet, but we have, or I get, notifications on all of those most of the time if they're through
Yeah.
either the governor's office or the attorney general, so. But if
So-
you
I
see
mean,
it
I
pop
can
up,
do
share
some
it.
It is.
inquiries. I just can't implement this by June 30th. So
Well-
that all of you understand that.
well, that aside, I think what we want to do is come up with the next steps. That's what the chairwoman is saying is, okay,
Find
so
out.
let's do our to-do steps. The to-do steps are, you're gonna do what? On the body cameras.
I'm gonna research what brands and what's available.
And how long would it be reasonable to give you to come up with a synopsis of that? 30 days?
I don't know. Let me talk to Michael Wright
Okay,
and go from there.
because
Because when he told me the other day that it takes a good year to write a really good grant.
Yeah, but grant aside, we're just talking about the
Right, well,
type
right.
of body cam.
Okay,
right, that's why we're talking about this in steps, because what we're doing now is evaluating everything, and then from that, gaining information. And then from that, taking action as a council on do we go for the grant?
Yeah.
Or do we,
And that's my concern. I mean, if you want to implement body cameras and we don't go for a grant, is the village gonna pay for it?
Well, yeah, but we're not experts
can't
in
get
this
that
field,
far.
right? We don't know these details, so we're on a fact-finding mission
Okay,
and using your expertise, and if Chief Wright also has, from his other village, has some expertise in it, then maybe he's the guy that we should be asking the questions to in conjunction with your support and you fielding questions to other chiefs of police. And then we have the information and then we can get the price and then we can decide how to proceed from there. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So
I-
the to-do items are what? You're gonna do the research and come back with,
brands and availability, and I'm also gonna reach out to other departments in Lake County to see what they currently are using and why.
yeah, and if they like it, don't like it. And then potentially ask Mr. Wright, Officer Wright, if he would be willing to, maybe we could set
you
up
know,
a
I
time.
have the grant application prepared.
So we already have it started. We just
Perfect.
have to change some numbers and so we have a draft.
Okay.
So their homework.
But
Who
the
does-
grant cycle's not
who is
open,
that
so that's
to?
the side.
It's
To the OAG.
Yeah.
the AG's office.
AG's office, okay.
Body armor's one still open, the camera one just
They
closed.
really want all the departments to have them. So I think they've
Who is
set
they?
aside.
AG?
The
Attorney General.
Attorney General and the governor. I
Okay,
think the push was put as much money aside into law enforcement as possible, and that included body cams.
gotcha,
Because they would like to have all departments have them.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we have one officer per shift. We have one police car on the road per shift. Do we need to have 4, 5, 7?
Well, the question becomes based upon what the chief mentioned for, court purposes. Does each officer have to have their own, so it identifies them when they are active? And that's something I don't know.
There's
And I
probably a
think
number.
Why we had 3. We only have one officer on the shift. But when that officer takes, and we used to work 12-hour shifts, so maybe there was a reason for why we had 3 and they sat in the cradle. The officer going off duty took it off and sat it in the cradle, and it took a good 6 to 8 hours to download whatever data was on there. Which meant we had to have another one ready, up and running, for the officer coming on duty.
How long ago was that though? I mean,
Oh, that was-
technology has changed.
Exactly, and I don't know what technology is out there. But, and that, again, I can check into that, but that's why we had 3 sat in the cradle, was what if somebody got called in? What if somebody's coming in to go to court? Somebody's on duty and somebody's going on duty, so and I don't know the particulars as to why we had 3, because our first round of body cameras, we had 2.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Probably for if one breaks, have a backup.
okay.
A lot of things are downloaded now to the cloud.
Yeah, we just, we'll find out.
Up to the cloud.
Well, all right, there's something else that we need to consider also. I would have to contact Lake County IT, which backs up our computer system and find out if we download body cameras to the cloud, is this something, because our cloud we have now is backed up by them. Is this going to be additional cost?
Sure, or it might be through the manufacturer, Mike.
I don't know.
You'll know soon and be able to probably get us some good
Yeah,
info on the
Yeah.
We
process
have not implemented them yet, Perry.
Okay.
And I don't know what
timeline is.
next Wednesday or next Thursday, I'll be able to tell you what the status is.
Okay. Yeah, if you'd be so kind to report that back, because
Sure.
we have someone going through an upstart, so we could learn mistakes and positives from that and what went well, what didn't, and
So you're gonna do that. You're gonna work on the grant with Officer Wright.
yes, when it opens.
Can we be a redheaded stepchild here? Other departments that have already upgraded to newer and better things,
If there's any extras.
what do they do with their older things? Do they offer them to small communities such as ours?
I've not seen a lot of that because of the specialization of the body cams. But then again, there's the handful that have them aren't the kind that share. OHP, mentor,
Sheriffs.
True.
sheriff.
Sheriffs share well, they just gave a car to. Grand River.
Well, I had a nice talk with them. They got 3 cars coming out. So
Nice.
We'll see.
So is it realistic then, do you think that by, say, our May council meeting, you'll have enough time to sort of look into this and get back to us?
I can ask some questions and
Okay.
look into this. I
Okay.
can't tell you I'll have it all on
Right.
paper, but
Okay.
have an idea of
Be
Next
more
step.
informed.
where we can go.
It's fair.
Good.
Okay, the next, is there anything else on that? Okay, the next topic was long guns and ammunition. We had an understanding, maybe there are 2 shotguns owned by Timberlake.
There are.
Okay, and what is the status of those?
They are upstairs in the attic. They are not in the garage. They were put in the attic 3 years ago. The ammunition is in the safe in the garage. They are in, as Stanley could say, they're in sad shape.
Sad shape.
I don't know if they can be, thank you, refurbished, cleaned, so they don't jam.
Can you take them to Atwell's or would that be a,
Atwell shut down their range and 2 of their guys that they never reopened their range after COVID. But my range instructor is the range instructor at a college. He does the kind of thing.
so there's a authority for saying is this gun able to be in used in police
Correct.
service?
Correct.
Okay. And our,
That in my written response.
okay,
Our range instructor,
certified.
I would have him look at the guns to say, can these be salvaged?
And what would a brand new replacement, reasonable replacement, not a,
I have no idea.
do you
I-
think he would know what?
Mm-hmm.
what
Oh,
it
yeah,
would
he-
Cost?
He could probably tell us.
Because I think, and I know that you had this in there someplace about having a resolution from council. I don't think there's any question that they would be willing to do a resolution to allow the long guns to be returned to the vehicles.
Now, when you talk about long guns, there is something else that is an issue that has been brought to my attention since I've been, actually since 2 years ago, and I'll explain. 2 years ago, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was dispatched to multiple active shooter alarms at schools. And the first one I was dispatched to was Mentor. And I picked up the phone and called Central Dispatch and I said, you know, Mentor's a good ways from here. Well, our mutual aid says all chiefs have to respond, everybody has to respond. And I said, okay. What about those of us that only have one person on duty? I mean, Timberlake's not the only department in the county that operates that way. How can you mandate that I be sent? And these alarms, no sooner would I get in the car and I'm headed for the highway and they call it off and then they're sending me to Eastlake, Willoughby, North High School. The third one I was dispatched to was actually Madison Township, which was 29.5 miles from here. So when it was all over and done, and it all turned out to be false alarms. But my question was, and a couple of chiefs asked me, and I'm still trying to get my hands on the mutual aid contract, because I reached out to the new captain in charge of Central Dispatch, and Nick is his name, and I said, dispatch is telling me you have this in writing. Can I see, give me a copy of this? And all it does is this is the latest, but it makes reference to whatever agreement all these departments in the county entered into in 2014. Nobody has yet to find a copy of our mutual aid agreement from 2014. The reason I'm bringing this up is I've had a couple of chiefs tell me, if you are mandated to respond to an active shooter at a school situation, you have to have AR-15s in your cars. And I'm like, you want to show me where that's written somewhere? And in order to have AR-15, because I noticed somewhere in your discussion at your previous meeting about terrorism, we've never had AR-15s in our cars. But if I also have learned, since that was said to me, that in order to respond to an active shooter call, we're supposed to have helmets and shields. Okay, where is that written? But that it concerns me if we're going to put long guns back in the cars, do we have to investigate that we are mandated by somebody, even though they're gonna pull us out of our jurisdiction and leave our village abandoned? I mean, what if I have to go to Madison Township School? Am I required to respond with an AR-15? And I don't know where to find those answers because I've been digging for 2 years and it keeps coming back to, I can't tell you how many chiefs have said to me, oh, Sue, you have AR-15s in your cars. Says who? So that's, while we're on the subject of long guns, I would like to check into that.
Wouldn't the Lake County Sheriff's Department know that?
They know, they gave me what their procedure is.
No, I just said they should, I would think, know the
I went
contents
up
of
to
the
speak to
mutual
Wilson
aid.
2 weeks ago, and he said, oh, we got 3 long guns in our cars. I'm like, you want to tell me what you got? They have AR-15s. They have a regular shotgun, which ours, you could use pellet or rifle slugs. And they have a less lethal, which shoots the beanbag. And I'm like, we got 2 holders. How do you get 3 guns in your car? He said, oh, 2 in the center and 1 up in the ceiling. And again, we're talking about a police car that's 10 years old. I mean, I just want you to be aware that, if we're gonna put the long guns back in the cars, do we have to cross that bridge of, are we supposed to have AR-15s in our cars?
Well, I think that's what we're referencing.
Yeah,
when you
I think
reference
we
long
wanna
guns,
know-
Is AR-15 is a very specific class of long gun.
Well, all
But
right,
most
assault
yeah,
rifles.
semi-automatic rifle for police
Right.
use, and there's
Right.
different classes of those that you could purchase that are,
But
some are AR,
my
some are
my
MPs.
concern is Timberlake's had shotguns in the cars for decades, okay? My concern is, do we take that leap and put assault rifles in our cars?
We do both. For the current circumstances, and I remember what the impetus for this whole safety committee and this letter to you for information was, we're on the brink of the border and there's been chaos lately and crime is getting closer and closer and more.
And I
more
agree,
frequent. So
and I agree.
unfortunately, we love to think of Timberlake as a super safe, isolated, quiet community, but as Mr. O'Leary mentioned in his opening was, it's not appearing to be that case anymore as, the crime infiltrates the
And
area.
I
So we're
understand in-
protecting against that and give the officers a tool they need to do their job.
I understand that, but you also have to take into consideration for assault weapons, we all have to be trained.
Right.
And I know we got a $3,000 check that could be eat up real quick in firearms training.
Well, the Lake County Sheriff's Department, he specified in his address to Lake County Commissioners was that they have a state-of-the-art training facility now and that the training is free.
Okay.
So, I think we're in a situation where if we don't have the right equipment, we need to know that. We need
Right.
to take steps
And that's
to
what
get it.
And that's what I'm worried about was,
All right.
when I reached out to all these other departments about, what do you have in your cars? And they're like, "Gotta have AR-15." I'm like,
Well, that's
Okay,
why
well
the
then-
common denominator in all of these items is what's the standard? What is it that we should be doing? Because we don't know.
do we need to follow the standard the sheriff's department sets? I
Well,
mean,
That's why we're relying upon you as the chief to say, here's the standard. If we're gonna put long guns back in, we need to have AR-15s and a shotgun. If that's the standard, then that's what we're gonna work towards. That's why we rely upon you as the chief.
and I'll have to do the research to see. I mean, I know the standards for departments like Mentor and Willoughby Hills, their standards are totally different than ours because they're bigger departments and they serve a bigger area. But
It sounds like from your conversations with other chiefs and other departments, we might be one of the few that don't have A shotguns or B long guns in our
Correct.
cars. So we should,
well,
that
look,
would be probably, in your opinion, would that be considered best practice for the area then? Not necessarily. a
for
standard-
AR-15s.
Yeah. Common practice,
I haven't talked to that many chiefs.
okay. But the few you
But,
have,
but
they
I,
were
but
all
the few,
100%.
but the few that I've talked to, they are much bigger departments and much bigger entities than we are. And granted, yes, that's why we all carry a gun on our hip, because we're cops and we never know what we're gonna go into.
Yeah, but you could see a case where
I-
you know,
I ca- I
something
can-
happens across the street and you guys are now mutual
I
aid
can
or.
see, especially after the school shooting in Texas.
Right.
I can see the mandate of having both type of long guns in your cars.
Yeah, okay, so you're in agreement that we should work towards that. We just have to
That,
figure
that,
out.
that would be
this-
an ideal goal.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
To acquire them, to train us on them, to be able to put them in the cars.
And is our range instructor, we pay him commission? Does that mean he does our trainings free of
He gets
cost?
paid by the hour
So
when he
he's
does our training.
commissioned here as a special and then paid per hour
He's
for training.
commissioned here as a paid part-timer.
Okay, and then gets paid per hour for the training hours.
Correct. Whatever he does, just like the last time we went to the range, he got 2 hours of pay.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know Mr. O'Leary's probably gonna ask, what's the timeline on our follow-ups, right?
Well, actually, I was just texting my son to find out what they're carrying in Madison Township,
Okay,
because I was curious.
Isn't, where Chief Wright is from, isn't his department small like ours?
Yes.
What do they?
What does he have? Do they have in their cars?
We were too busy talking about body cameras. I only see him one morning a week. And we've has spent some time talking about body cameras, so I will pick his brain come Monday morning.
Margaret, you had mentioned that Lake County had offered us to trip all of them.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What about the range instructor?
I don't know. He didn't go into the whole details, just said that they have really worked to get a state-of-the-art training facility, really geared towards sort of the modern threats.
They have even the AI computerized scenario stuff that they have available to me, which is really nice. But my recollection, and I could be wrong, is that each department provides their own instructor.
That's what I
And that's
thought.
what happened with Perry, North Perry. We had the chief in Perry is a certified instructor. So he did both North Perry and Perry officers for their most recent one. But I know they have to have some there because they did some remedial training for some of the officers that didn't pass the initial testing. Do you remember, did you go out there to do your testing?
Our range?
Yeah.
No, we went out to Sheffield Village.
Okay.
To Gun Hub. Cause they're cheap. And they're close, and none of my guys live over here. That's the problem.
yeah, they also, and we'll get into it later, but don't let me forget, if we get to the training, the training that they're offering in response to his first, what he addressed the commissioners. Now he's doing follow-up trainings for departments and officers for some tactical and
All the emails,
educational training, but we can get there.
I've been blasted for the last 2 weeks for.
He's a busy man.
The world ending on Monday
Yeah.
with the eclipse. So
Okay.
after we get past the eclipse, then I can worry about
Yeah, that's,
checking into other things.
but yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Rain.
Better than snow.
It snowed here today.
I
Did you
was-
see it?
I saw it. It doesn't snow in spring. It's
So-
not Ohio.
All right.
Is there anything else on the long guns?
Back to the question, what is the OPATA standard for long guns? Again, OPATA doesn't set the standards because they are a training academy. They set our firearms requalification as to what we have to do, but they don't set a standard. Everybody has to have this in their car.
The AG's office has this information. Well, the state,
For firearms,
setting the standard.
it's in the packet that I gave you. It's printed out as to what our annual firearms requalification program is.
No, I'm not talking about requalification. I'm talking about, wouldn't the Ohio General's Office have some type of a platform to tell you this is the standard that we would like Ohio police departments to use?
What they've given us is our basic training academy, our yearly in-service, what we're required to do, but they can't mandate like say every department have AR-15s. Because there's, and a lot of the mandates that come from the AG's office, they have to take into consideration that there aren't just tiny departments like Timberlake versus Columbus and Cincinnati. There's police departments with hospitals and psychiatric centers and those kinds of things. And they mandate, we all have to have X amount of training, but they can't mandate our equipment. That's basically left to each individual entity. Like, you know, I'd like to find out what the sheriff's department's.
Is
Yes,
that what you're referring to?
that's continuing. That somewhere in here, the question asked about our continuing professional. We don't go to a classroom because we all work the guys all work other jobs. But we've done our continuing training online with OPATA. And for each, and the Attorney General's office does mandate X amount of hours. You have to take legal update, you have to take domestic violence. And then it's left up to each individual department to tailor whatever the credits, as long as we total 24 credits. And we're in the process of playing catch up because OPATA was closed during COVID. So there were no mandatory training for those years. So now they're telling us for X amount of credits, you got to take this, you got to take this, but then it's up to each individual department.
So for the time that they were closed, they're actually holding you accountable for not having taken the.
No, they're not holding us accountable. They wiped the slate clean.
Okay.
So now, because we didn't have training for 2 years, 2.5 years, they're not mandating anything more than the regular 24 credit hours a year.
Okay.
But it's more tailored to the departments. Like say a psychiatric hospital's police department would choose to take different training than Timberlake is going to choose. Eastlake may take, you know, more active shooter training than we would take based on their businesses, based on their schools. So no, we didn't.
They just pulled that out.
There was
and-
a moratorium.
Correct,
Yeah, okay.
correct.
Essentially.
Pause. We were put on hold.
Everyone else.
They started back up in 2000.
Yes, and we all did our training and they are now online, where before you had to fax everything in and Officer Smith did this and he did this and 20 hours of this, 3 hours of domestic violence, and they streamlined it. And once I got everybody all on a piece of paper that I could just input it, I was done in like 2.5 hours. But yes, we did do our requirements for 2023, and that's the paper that's in your packet that Mr. O'Leary just showed me. That anybody can go on OPATA's website. It's not law enforcement based. You can go on there for continuing professional training for police officers, see exactly what our requirements are.
Correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I think the spirit of what you were trying to get at. So there is no entity or governing body for peace officers that gives protocols and procedures to police departments that you must follow this? Or is there a basic requirements of you can only do X, Y, and Z, but every other decision like long guns, body cameras, these types of questions we're asking are up to the discretion of the department itself? Okay.
With the exception of, because somewhere in here you ask about Lexipol.
Okay.
And you ask about the policy and procedures manual. Policy and procedures manual is written by chiefs. And what's in ours, the little bit that we've issued so far, is coming from the collaborative because it's state and federal laws that we have to be up to date on.
So is there any professional agencies like the Chief of Police Association or other entities of that sort that we could pull information from and help, you know, you and the officers to, you know, follow certain procedures for certain practices?
That's what we're working on right now with the collaborative and Lexipol.
Okay. No, we're jumping around to that, but it was the top of mind. I wanted.
Lexipol is going to have us up to date. Once we get up to the level we need to be, we'll have daily bulletins because court cases change every day. And they're the ones that will provide us with, this is a new federal law. Even though it happened in Oklahoma, this applies to you in Timberlake, Ohio.
Cool.
Okay.
What are you saying? the level. before we can-
What information?
You just said once we reach this level.
Oh,
we would
this,
do this.
I'll show you an example. This, you asked for a copy of my policy and procedures. You can see that it's written, it's back and front. I don't know how many pages it is. Let's suppose,
It's a safety director. policy system. Knew that.
it's not an employee handbook. It's not a rules and regulations. This is policies and procedures that are laws governing how we do our job. Lexipol's policy, once we get up and running with them, theirs is between 600 and 800 pages long, depending on, there's hunks of it that don't apply to Timberlake. We don't have SWAT, things like that. But it's far more comprehensive than what I put out with the collaborative.
Is that the program that the commissioners are
Flexible.
supporting
Lexipol,
Lexipol, where
yes.
every agency is kind of
5 years.
getting a blank?
So let me, the chairman would say this before I did. Let's go back to the agenda.
Yes, please.
Let's see if we can follow the agenda.
Before, okay. So with regard to the long guns,
Mhm.
is it reasonable that by our May council meeting, we can confirm the status and whether or not the guns we own can be brought into service and what that would,
If I can get him
Involved.
out here and get him to the attic, yes, I will call him tomorrow.
okay? And,
Mr. O'Leary be able to ask something. about this there.
I think that you probably want to have a weapons person verify those. I mean, I trust Stan, sort of, but
You just don't want to give them a gun, yeah.
no, I think I want to be further, Stan. I'm a big enough target. But I think we probably want to have someone with the certification take a look at them. I mean, you could just make the decision that we're going to replace them. And that's something that you can always do.
How many of our officers are, have that certification?
We all had it up until 3 years ago. We have not qualified with them. We're all
I'm not
trained.
talking about to be a range
To look at the
instructor or
guns.
look at the guns or be able to determine
The
if
range
they're-
instructor I have,
how many other.
he's not certified in what you're talking about.
He is not certified.
He's a range instructor. Just because they're a range instructor does not mean they're a gunsmith as well.
And
So going back to the question, you're gonna provide us with a little bit of help on that by the main meeting?
I will try.
okay. And, could you also contact the Lake County Sheriff's Department and relevant surrounding communities as to what they're doing with regard to long guns in their cruisers?
I could probably get you Perry, North Perry,
Okay,
Madison Township,
okay,
Grand River, and Little Hills. I
okay,
mean, I could get you those 5.
okay.
We also had ammunition listed there. I don't know whether it's worth exploring that if we're not sure whether the guns we currently have are even functional. But we probably want, since you're going to be contacting local, the surrounding communities, you could ask them what is their stand, what are they keeping on hand for their long guns in terms of ammunition
We have
supplies
plenty of ammunition.
for those guns.
That's what my
Right.
son said, so you can decipher. Sounds like Madison has 2 long guns in each vehicle. But it's up to the officer.
Ah, okay,
That makes sense to you?
that makes, yes, yes.
So some of them have a regular shotgun and an AR-15,
12
and some
gauge.
have. What did he say?
An
there?
M1,
Okay.
M1 Grand chambered in a 308. So.
Yeah.
So
Semi-auto,
nobody,
right?
I'm assuming everybody has AR-15s as opposed to AR-47s, AK-47s.
Oh, yeah, AK-47's right, I use the police for. The bullet's different.
No,
You know,
for the guns we have in
308
the
versus-
attic that are standard 12-gauge shotguns, we have tons of ammo in the
Buck
safe.
and slug,
Rifle, slug, and buckshot.
So it'd probably be good if those could be.
or you buy the
Or
same.
buy-
We could
12
sell
gauge.
it.
Try the same.
It's-
Same
it-
type.
You can
Same
use it
type.
in any 12 gauge, except it's
Yes.
same caliber weapon.
I guess you could.
Yeah.
Was my
You know.
ignorance about.
Just the size of the shell.
Buckshot.
Well, no,
Okay.
I'm talking about
Oh, rifle, slug.
the length of the shell. Some 12 gauges use the 3-inch, is it? Two and.
We could buy a weapon with specifications. Takes the
Correct.
same ammo. Do we, to stay on the ammo since it's on topic, if, do we have inventory, written inventory of the ammo? Is that standard practice or is there just ammo in a lockbox?
I discovered what we had in the safes when we opened them.
And we, or should we, I guess it's for Mr. O'Leary and you both on this, inventory that have a inventory log of ammunition? I don't know
It'd
how
be
much,
nice to know what we have,
yeah, I think that's. probably good
especially if
request
you need
as committee.
to ask us to, in the annual budget for, because we're gonna return the long guns to the vehicles. If we're gonna have to buy more ammo at some point, so we need to know what we have so that we can determine in the budget for next year if we have a purchase anything. And would that be hard to ask one of the guys?
Use
to go
that.
through and-
Use that ammo for range training as well.
I'm just thinking if we returned them sometime in the next 6 months, would we run out of that between training and everything, so
doubt
we'd have to include it?
I doubt it.
Okay.
My head,
It'll be nice to know.
yeah, guns are inventory, do you
So-
think ammo should?
She can have one of the
Okay.
officers do the inventory and provide that.
I think we've got grants out there too.
The state supplier,
The state supplies it.
state supplier has plenty.
So other than the shotgun ammo, there's other ammo in there?
Yes.
Is it for a variety of weapons or is it just?
Well, we have a variety of handgun ammo because we don't all carry the same.
Okay.
Some carry 45s, some carry 40s. Most of us carry 9mm.
So it'd probably be good to have that as well. We had not had to buy
No,
ammo?
I
in a
have
while?
not, no.
Wow.
The safes are.
I think the only thing
filled.
we bought a couple of years ago was 9mm.
Right.
So that, yeah, the most common
But the-
handgun for range.
Guess it doesn't expire.
No, it does not.
No, not unless it gets
Yeah,
wet
unless
or.
it- yeah, unless it gets.
Not in those, not in the safes we
Flooded.
have in the garage.
Are those
Watertight.
moisture resistant?
I have no idea. All
Oh.
I know is they're dry as a bone when you open them.
Okay,
They still shoot.
Yes.
okay.
Okay, anything further on long guns ammunition?
I guess the one thing we forgot to talk about
Hmm.
is, you guys also carry, in addition to a firearm,
Taser.
tasers.
Yes, we do.
Are those all, is everybody carrying the same thing?
X26P. I don't know how old they are.
Are those issued by us or does each guy
Yes.
have their own?
No, they sit in a drawer and we all share.
Are they checked, clean?
They're checked every day. They're checked every shift.
Sorry to add that. I just happened to come to my mind that we're talking about.
Can we stick to the agenda, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor?
Mr. O'Leary. Yeah, the
You're
agenda.
calling Ryan on me.
Can you check on the age on those and,
The age.
yeah, how old
Of
they are
what?
of the tasers?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have no
There's no way to,
paperwork. I have
there's
nothing.
no serial number on it? then?
There is a serial number.
Would you have paperwork on when they were purchased, probably?
Somewhere,
Somewhere.
So you could tell me how old they are?
potentially.
I mean, I
It
have
depends how old they are.
Been here how many?
13
decades?
years.
Oh.
13 years.
I mean, I remember the other ones that we had.
I know there's
Those are
been
in a box.
cartridges purchased for them, but I don't know on the age. of
We,
the-
this past year, I did purchase training cartridges and regular cartridges. But I don't, the tasers
I don't know the
themselves,
original
I don't
date.
know how old they are.
Is there a useful life on those? They. Actually,
My
they're-
taser guy says they're good. I mean,
Which is that?
Hey, Dolben.
That's on the, oh, okay, Dolben. Sorry.
Okay, the next item on the agenda was the police policy and procedure manual. What is the status of the current revisions?
this is what we have so far.
Okay,
And somewhere in here, Mr. O'Leary asked for a copy. What I did take out of this is how to log into the MDT and access lead.
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
Mr. O'Leary, is that something that needs to be run by council and approved by council, or is that an internal document, that's unique to that to police?
Well, these aren't employee policies.
Okay,
These are the mechanics of how to work within the police department.
Okay.
I frankly have never had, other than policies and procedures, I've never had a community have to approve of this. The only difference or differentiation is, like we mentioned before, commissioners got the Lexipol set up, and several of my departments are doing the Lexipol. In fact, that's one of the collaborations between Perry and North Perry, is the chiefs were sitting down once a week and going through the Lexipol policies, comparing them to what they have in place and updating them. And so they were going through X number of policies per week in order to make sure that they were uniform. So we're going to cover for each other. We wanted to make sure they were uniform. So not sure I answered your question, but
no, that's fine. I think you basically said, no, it doesn't need to be. So, but thank you for the additional explanation.
Hey.
it wasn't going to be that harsh.
Okay, and so that is the current and revised.
This is all we have
Okay,
so far.
okay.
I hate to use this term, what's missing?
The
Is there
main,
a section missing?
no, the Lexipol is a lot more detailed than what we have in here. This is the basic,
Structure.
right, it is. This, we have our arrest, mechanics of arrest, handcuffing, transporting, high-speed pursuit. I'd have to go through the intro,
Yeah,
but this is
it's best practice protocols, procedures set in place by
Use of force.
the
correct.
chief on how to handle. This is how we want our department to handle.
A
cases.
lot of what the collaborative consists of has all been provided by the International Association of Chiefs of Police.
Okay,
Now, did the use of force one, is that the one that came?
That came from collaborative and Lexipol.
Okay, because I know that there was a lot of, when that came up, it's an 8-page
Correct.
policy. There were some issues that the two chiefs had in Perry about the language of
I agree.
the policy
I agree.
from Lexipol.
Yes.
They modified it based upon their experience.
so this is our current, and this is just
This
to help me understand what we're
our
currently
department's using right
policy,
now.
our current policy is and what our officers should follow. What we're waiting on is more updates from Lexipol,
More details.
more
Right.
details and more information to round that out and make it complete and total.
Well, and like I said, we're only collaborative certified for group 1. There's 5 groups. So between Lexipol, it's an ongoing every day.
So I think the question is, one of the questions is, this is not complete.
Correct.
When would you anticipate having it be complete? Because I think one of the things that I think of is that, you know, you want each officer to review it, obviously there's a lot of material.
They were each
Yes.
issued one.
And then sign off on it.
They were each issued one and they signed off on each section.
Okay.
And it is hard copy. And no, they're not in the cars because each officer has their own
So they should be carrying it with them.
in their bag, I hope.
Okay, one of the questions, what's the status of the Lexapro program? I guess that's really directed to where are we, what?
Officer, Detective Sergeant Fred Swanson and I are both working with our Lexapol guy.
Okay.
He gives Fred 15 policies, he gives me 15. Actually, it's like editing something because, you know, I even sent him an email saying, I'm a little worried here because all these for use of force and high-speed pursuit, we all talk about internal affairs and this division and that division and that division. And I flat out said, there's only 9 of us. And he came back and said, tailor it to suit, you know, write it, cross out whatever doesn't apply to yours, write it, because there are departments here in Ohio that are 1 member or 2 members, and they're up and running with Lexapol. And that gave me a lot of comfort knowing that, oh my God, we don't fit into the cookie cutter mold. So however quickly we can edit all of these, we will. I have 15 sitting on my desk right now.
Do you know how many are left? Is there a status of you have to have review X amount in your 50?
All I know is the totality of Lexapol
Mhm.
is a minimum of 600 pages for a policy and procedures manual.
How many?
How many you got?
Doesn't look like 600.
Maybe, how many? 150?
Maybe more or less because you got them on front and back.
Yeah,
Right.
so we'll be shorter though, because we'll strike out most of the bigger. departments.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem with reviewing Lexapol policies, because so much of it does not apply to us.
It's almost harder than starting fresh, but
So
probably
you-
the right way.
Do you have even a ballpark as to what you think you'll be through it?
6 months.
And then you mentioned level 1 with Lexipol versus, and I think you used that's group 1 of the collaborative versus fully collaborative certified. What is that in reference to Lexipol?
They're not.
Oh,
They're
okay,
they're
separate, okay,
totally separate. Totally separate.
okay.
The problem, I don't want to say problem, but with the collaborative, because that's a push from the Attorney General for educational purposes as far as how police departments maintain what they do every day. That's why we're not eligible for grants. As a community, we are. But me as a chief for my police department, I can't apply for grants because we are not collaborative certified.
What does it take to get?
I have to get
collaborative?
through the next 4 groups, but we've been busy with Lexapol. We just have to. A lot of departments have full-time staff that do this, okay, so
Appreciate that.
we are doing the best we can.
So no timeline we could put on the stage
Well,
for that, because
it's not,
clear.
you can look up Ohio Collaborative online. This is not anything private. You can look it up yourself. And you can look up the groups that we have to go through.
Okay,
And there's certain things like, one of the events they wanted photographs of us at a community policing event, like say we put a table in a mall.
sounds like getting a
Well-
patch in the scouts. or something.
Oh, okay.
Becoming an
right,
Eagle Scout.
right.
Okay,
That, it reminds me of that,
Okay.
yes. And it's like, okay, we don't rent a table in a mall. We don't have the staff to do
come
this.
to Family Day, we'll get a picture.
Okay.
We'll even
Okay.
get you a table.
So
Okay, thank you.
All right. So ballpark on the collaborative, do you have any sense of?
No, I don't. I've been working on it for almost 2 years. And we've stopped it and restarted it. And the chiefs I've worked with have left the collaborative and we don't start over from scratch, but we're now working on group 4 instead of group 2.
Hmm.
So,
Can you skip steps?
well, I don't have the opportunity to go to a mall and put out a table, and that's in group 2. So we moved on to group 4.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anything further on the policy manuals, whatever? What are we thinking about time tonight? Do we want to?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what folks' schedules are, if they wanna, if you wanna take a break and come at 5:30 before the council meeting on the 16th. And we could have another safety committee meeting before the next council meeting, I'm assuming that you would be there.
Yeah, but it's almost 5:30 now, so we go
5:30.
about an hour and a half. Do we, either that, we start now at an hour and a half, or we try to tackle one more,
Want to tackle one more and
one
then-
more bullet item 5 and see
Okay.
where we get and try and get through that and call it
Okay,
done by 6, no matter what,
sounds good.
for dinner?
Okay. Okay, so then the next topic was recruitment and retention policies. Obviously, we've had pretty high turnover. It's hard to recruit. So we're wondering, can you provide a list of the officers just with an opportunity to kind of interview them as to what they feel are things that the village could do to make it,
we've lost 2 people so far this year.
okay?
We lost nobody last year.
Okay.
But I can tell you from January 1 of 2017 through August of 2022, 73 people came and went in this department,
How many?
73.
What was the time period
Okay.
again?
What was that
From
again?
a
That's-
January
27
1 of 2017 through the end of August of 2022. There were 73 people that came through here. And that's not unusual. I mean, you may view it as high turnover, but Timberlake has always been a training ground. Timberlake has always been your first stop. And you get a little bit of experience and then you go on to something better and something better. Or for older officers like myself and John Kleinhans, we came here with, this is our end stop.
Simone, it's another one that was like that, right? Often it's
Right.
side of the
Right.
career.
But
curve.
now as far as the 2 that have left, I cannot give you their addresses or their telephone numbers because that falls under public record and it's exempt.
That true, Mr. O'Leary?
It's in your packet. I gave you a copy.
Well, yeah, I'm asking the solicitor, he would know.
I gave you the
Smart,
page
smart.
out of the auditor's handbook. That is 216 that tells you. Peace officer, residential and familiar information.
I don't know if a phone number is that.
It is. It specifies it in Ohio Public
Yeah,
Records Act.
it all has to be redacted.
Oh,
If a record request, yes.
But that's if it's a public records request, not if it's you
It's
reach out
not
to.
to the public. It is not available to anybody outside of they are law enforcement, even though they left here.
Right,
They're not Timberlake anymore, but they are still law enforcement. And I cannot give you their phone numbers.
so it's a special class of law enforcement that is exempt from it, as opposed to a lot of companies do exit interviews. That's
Lots
what
of
we're getting at.
companies do, but we're a police department.
Anything further on that?
Covered, all our ships are covered, we have no problem so far.
So far,
Everybody's covered.
so far, we are covered. Even though we lost 2 people, we gained 2 people. We hired 1 in November. We hired 2 in January, but 1 left because somebody asked me if they could ask, and I'll tell you, Matt Cicero was offered a full-time job. Why wouldn't anybody take it?
Right.
So
So if someone gets ill, things are covered. If they leave officers, are able to do-
we have officers that are willing to step up. Yes, yes, we do.
Good news.
So I think that the natural question that I would hear at a council meeting on this discussion is, if we've got enough people, is there a reason why we have one that's almost full-time? Do we need to have Swanson?
We don't have the people I have are not available to work more than what they're working right now.
Then are we really staffed properly? Do we need to hire one more person?
I would like to hire 5 more people.
Okay, so you're sort of still in an active recruiting mode. if something came
Absolutely.
along.
Our ad is still on.
Yeah, it's still on and
I did send an email to the mayor and requested him to add a sentence to our job posting on our website. Because apparently people don't understand that you do have to go through a background investigation. I've had phone conversations with people that flat out said, I was fingerprinted 10 years ago when I went through the academy. I'm not being fingerprinted again. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a criteria for, yeah.
Any job you get fingerprinted.
You know, I asked the mayor and he did put it on there because I'm just astounded at people's responses. I mean, just because you send me a resume doesn't mean I'm gonna stamp you and come on in and you're gonna be a Timberlake officer. You have to pass a background investigation.
So when you mentioned there's only been 2 officers that we lost, didn't lose any last year.
Right.
Does that include ones that were relieved of their responsibilities? Or are those a separate category?
They're all in the same category.
Okay.
Whoever went out the door was counted as in that totality number. 7.
So 2022, there was none. 2023, there was 2. Do you remember what 2021 was?
Horrible.
Because I was gonna say, I thought that was when I first came on board.
It was.
Seemed like every other week we were losing.
Well,
somebody.
the day I got sworn in as chief, we lost 9. And we lost maybe 4 in the 3 months after that and continued to lose them for the next year. And then we went all of 2023 without losing anybody.
Okay, so now I'm confused. So we didn't lose anybody in 22 or 22.
23,
They
So
both January.
22, we lost
1,
1. And then
2 this year,
2 this year.
1.
January and February.
I thought that there were 2 officers that were relieved from duty that ended up coming back. Question that for the village. Now, it was before I was on council. I'm not sure the timing.
That might have been-
That was in 2021.
Okay.
Those 2 that left were in 2021.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything further on that? Okay.
Would it be possible, Chief, that you contacted the 2 individuals who left and asked them if they would be willing to talk to Mrs. Joyce and give her contact information to them? Why not?
They are no longer employed here.
Okay.
They've been
but
gone more
We
than 2
can't,
months.
so they fall into a limbo state where nobody can ever talk to them.
I can't give you their information as long as they're police officers.
I get that. I
I
get
mean,
that.
but I can tell you, they both went on to other law enforcement jobs.
Okay, and that's great that we're hearing that from you. But for our own edification, it might be worthwhile to have them share with Mrs. Joyce what they think could be done to improve the situation in Timberlake. And see that as being,
Do you want to know what they've said to me?
well, again, that's hearsay,
Okay,
Chief, and why I respect that. It's not the same as having that conversation with the individual. I worked in human resources for 37 years. And I know that what the manager was told by the person who left and what the person might actually have in terms of observations might be slightly different. And so from my perspective, I always appreciated the opportunity to talk with that person who left directly. Now, I understand that you can't share their information with us. However, could you share our information with them and ask them if they voluntarily wanted to
I can reach out to them.
contact? Okay, that's all I'm asking. I'm not sure that it will do any good.
I doubt it. I'll probably be told, go pound salt.
Yeah,
but
I get that. I get that. But Mr. O'Leary, do you see any?
No, I think
advantage to that?
I was thinking about the same thing before you brought it up, but I think that makes sense. I mean, you know, our feeling was that Chairwoman Joyce should be the best person to do that. She would be a person that would be deserving to speak to, and it would be easier for her to potentially get some information that would help us to see what did work here, what didn't they like here, what were the pet peeves that we could help with, those kinds of things.
One of them probably could answer, but the other one left before he actually even started working.
Cicero.
Mhm.
But he might have some information, for instance, in terms of, yes, it's a full-time job. What was the offering in terms of pay? You know, where are we finding ourselves deficient in terms of what we offer in terms of pay and you know, the environment that we
Well, I think
Offer here.
when he was here when he was sworn in, we addressed the issue that one place he was working was 10 something an hour, where
Yeah.
Timberlake is 18.
Yeah.
And 18 obviously was more attractive than 10,
But is
17.
his full-time position, what is that paying, for instance?
Oh,
You know,
I-
Do you know where he went?
no, I don't. I just know that that was the statement he made, that he was unexpectedly offered full-time employment.
yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean,
For us, yeah.
I know, it would have been that one extra person that possibly then could have eliminated the 40-hour
Exactly,
schedule for.
exactly.
So if we were to reconvene for the balance of this and maybe any follow-up questions based upon our discussion tonight, would we need an hour before the council meeting? You come in at 5:30 and get through the last few items and then any follow-up?
I
We
think
only
so.
have 2 more things.
With three-
I understand that, but yes, this is just having the opportunity to review it and think
Yeah.
about the questions. There, we may go back over some of the other areas a little bit. But I would like to finish this before we go back.
Yeah.
A
Well,
one-time
can we switch topics, because it's in here and you wanted to implement it by the end of March, which of course we're past that. But you brought up ride-alongs,
Yes.
and this policy, as it is written, does not authorize ride-alongs. However, this is Lexipol's policy for ride-alongs, which I printed out and I will leave with Mr. O'Leary. But it does require a form to be filled out, and you do have to have a background check done before you can get into a police car. But there's one roadblock that did come up to me in the last week, is that you're gonna take the computers out of the cars and shut your radios off. And why? Because that's Leeds information, and Leeds has gotten very, very particular about, I was stunned.
Yeah,
I was stunned.
I know my son's still doing ride-alongs with.
Does he have a computer in the car?
Mhm.
And then the
Every
question,
department I know.
and then the question I had was, well, if you're gonna, and a chief posed this to me, he said, you're gonna have a council person in your car and the computer's right there and the radio's right there, especially our scanner, because we pick up everybody. And so you're gonna leave them, when you get out to answer a call, you're gonna leave them in the car with all your stuff running, or you're gonna make them get out of the car And then what if they interfere in whatever you're doing? And I'm like,
Well, that's a.
Wow. that's a
okay,
Morality thing, yeah.
yeah, I'm
Is that all
like,
public
wow.
information?
Well, we just had this happen in Perry. We had a councilman in a vehicle when a person who was going to commit suicide by gun, a 27-year-old young lady. And we went back and forth on that policy. And we came to the determination that more than likely what should have happened, because it didn't happen, was the councilman should have been either kicked out of the car with his cell phone to call for a ride, or dropped off, if convenient, at the village hall on their way to the call. Now, you don't always get that opportunity because it doesn't, work.
Rock and roll.
And I think that's in
Fortunately,
this.
here, even if you got dropped off at the playground and had to walk all the way back here, it's not that far.
Correct.
So I think from our perspective, and I think that the council people that are interested in doing this, if a truly a call that they should not be present for, yeah, the car.
Wasn't it the policy that they go around once every 2 hours and it's just a pass through? Was that 20 minutes?
We're gonna go over that.
Yeah, but so it wouldn't be, the rest of the time it'd be hanging out in the office.
Depending on whether or not we have a call in that 2 hours.
Right, true.
Okay. I mean, if you want to spend 2 hours in the car, that's fine, but 2 hours in the office is not fine.
Well, I know that when we were hit on the freeway and our car was totaled, we spent a good deal of time in the police officer's car with the computer on, with the radio going,
How
and
long ago?
Last
May
year.
of last year.
I can tell you that as far as leads, and I just got an email on it 2 weeks ago. There's criteria that was put in place in October of 2023 that will be implemented in October of 2024 for new criteria or
gotta do this.
We
leads.
better hurry up and do it, yeah, before,
So I'll make copies of this and provide it to everybody. And then, did we ask, Mr. Roskus, did we ask you if we needed to do anything with our insurance carrier?
I asked for it in writing.
I'm still awaiting a response on whether they will put it in writing.
We're covered.
They said it should be okay, but when I followed up and asked for something in writing, I
just-
No answer.
haven't gotten
Crickets.
anything in
Amazing
writing.
how they become very
Crickets.
quiet.
And I would rather have it up front. I
Yes.
mean,
Oh, I agree.
I hate to even say we're Timberlake, but if you're gonna get in one of our police cars, I have to make sure
Yeah,
you're
it's
safe to do it.
in the front of the car.
Well, you won't fit in the back, not in the Taurus.
Well, I may not have a choice.
They'll make you.
I don't recall a police officer ever giving the person being arrested the choice of whether or not they're gonna get in the car.
It depends on
I've got
who's
some
car.
good videos if you want to see them.
So an hour probably
Yes.
before the
So
next
let's set it
council
for
meeting?
8:30 for the 16th.
I think we have another meeting at 6 already, so it'd have to be at 5.
Trees.
Trees.
Grant,
Grant. Was me.
was it Grant?
Mhm.
Something like one or another.
That was nature works.
It's not trees, it's not park.
It's
It's
the,
not parks, we're later.
It's
the nature.
grant-
works
30.
grant.
grants committees, but we're in what? Separate
I'm
ones.
willing to give up the time.
If it's for the good of the whole.
For the good of the whole, for the good of the
Because
whole.
I
The
agree.
grants was gonna be for body armor, wasn't it? So I mean, it's.
Well, yeah, this is for the nature works.
Right.
grant, But we have till, do you recall, is it June 30th to resubmit?
It's already resubmitted,
To make any additional changes?
but we could make,
They recommended a few, so that was what that was for, to talk about the,
Yeah.
what changes we make, so. Okay. Oh,
Is that
you're
the
gonna
30th?
separate, okay. Cool, because it's more of, I want to give everyone the information and then let you all go run and make your tweaks and suggestions, and then we can reconvene in a group committee meeting and type it all out,
Awesome.
finalize.
Sounds good.
So,
So
uh, Time slot is yours, Margaret.
5:30 on the 16th
Okay.
for the safety committee. Yes.
That works.
And then we're shifting. Right, I think we did. I thought I sent that. out. Yeah, I think I said it for the 3rd.
And the 30th has already been submitted, I think.
Yeah.
Do you notify?
News Herald,
News Herald, sorry.
Sarah.
Plain dealer doesn't exist. Do they exist?
twice a week.
Is it a huge thing to change the agenda, or is it, it's stated to the parks? How do you word it? So we might be able to just use the parks meeting and then just talk about the grant for the park and solicit feedback.
If it's a separate committee, it'd have to be listed separately.
It's- People might come, remember I put it in the Times. So.
So you
I
need it-
put it in the Timberlake Times soliciting discussion and feedback from the community about the grant and what they would like to see, because there's community piece to it. So if they come and want to talk about that, we might have to use part of the time.
Okay.
Or the first public.
make it work.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
make it work.
Just,
We'll
I,
make it
I
work.
put a call out for people to come, and if they all come, and I don't wanna,
Right.
say we're gonna do safety and then.
No, right.
I know.
Okay.
Good.
Just kidding.
But okay, just bear that in mind, that we might have some
Yeah.
people wanting to talk about that, and we'll manage it appropriately. Okay.
Very well.
And other than that,
Here,
I have
we
no
adjourn.
problem.
5:30.
Yeah. No, it's safety. Are you talking about next meeting or the other one?
Oh, the
Parks
parks
is
is,
later
yeah,
in the month.
that was,
Third.
yeah, I think
That's a
it
third.
was
That's a
6,
different one.
6:30. Yes. Yeah, he couldn't make it any earlier than 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Standalone.
Okay.
That should work. We can be flexible.
All right. We're adjourned.
So moved.
I will.
I.
I.
Like,